नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्स. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude towards the organizers of this conference and to the Honorable Vice Chancellor and Honorable Registrar of this institute. It is indeed my pleasure to be here from where I resigned long back in January 2012. The Sansthan, the institute, holds a very special place in my life. It kept my scanty knowledge of classical Tibetan alive. It is here that I met three scholars who shaped my academic life: Professor K.N. Mishra, Professor S.K. Pathak, and my German guru, Professor Michael Hahn. None of them is with us today. I have a mixed feeling. I was here last time when the institute celebrated its Golden Jubilee in 2018, and now after a gap of 7 years, I am again back to the institute after the pandemic, during which we lost several of our colleagues, and I pay my respects to them. Professor Maya Joshi has already laid out the foundation for the conference and also some of the things which I was going to speak. She has already covered, but nonetheless, I think to put my paper in perspective, I would like to repeat some of the information. So Rahulji was a pioneering figure. He was a scholar, traveler, and historian whose work in the field of manuscript preservation and Buddhist studies remains unparalleled. His extensive travels, particularly to Tibet, Nepal, and other parts of Asia, were driven by a passion for rediscovering and preserving ancient Sanskrit manuscripts. Through his meticulous research and collection efforts, he played a crucial role in reviving lost Buddhist texts and enriching India's intellectual and cultural heritage. One of Sankrityayan's most significant contributions was his effort to locate and retrieve ancient Indian manuscripts that had been lost or forgotten. A vast number of these texts had been taken to Tibet following the decline of Buddhism in India, particularly after the destruction of Nalanda and Vikramshil universities. Recognizing their importance, Sankrityayan made multiple expeditions to Tibet, during which he gained access to monastic libraries and carefully documented, copied, photographed valuable Sanskrit manuscripts. He did not merely collect manuscripts, he also worked rigorously to document and analyze them. He collaborated with scholars and institutions, ensuring that these texts were preserved, translated, and made accessible to researchers. His documentation of the manuscripts in Shalu, Sakya, and Ngor monasteries in Tibet, where he found invaluable texts, provided insights into the rich tradition of Buddhist scholarship that had thrived outside India. Sankrityayan's contribution to manuscript preservation remains one of the most outstanding intellectual achievements of the 20th century India. His tireless efforts in rediscovering that Buddhist texts and making them accessible. Hello. His tireless efforts in rediscovering lost Buddhist texts and making them accessible to modern scholars cemented his legacy as a pioneer in the field. The manuscripts he brought back continue to serve as primary sources for Buddhist and historical research. The text on which I worked for my PhD and for my postdoc in Germany was published in Professor Hahn's prestigious series Indica Tibetica in 2014 and 2018. This text has close connection with Rahulji. The second text on which I am working at present is a result of the first text. And my husband, Professor Mahesh Deokar, and my colleagues, Professor Dimitrov and Dr. Chojun Yazaki, are working on the third text, about which also I will speak a bit. Subhuti Chandra and Kavika Amadhenu. In 2000, immediately I joined the dictionary unit of this institute. For my PhD, I decided to work on a text which was not heard by Indian contemporary Indians. It is Kavika Amadhenu, the commentary on the Amarakosha, the most popular versified Sanskrit dictionary. It was composed by a Buddhist author Amarasimha The date of this lexicon is uncertain. It soon became famous throughout India and outside India, and a vast commentary literature came into existence. This includes commentaries written not only in Sanskrit but also in Kannada and Malayalam. There exists one commentary each in Nevari, Tibetan, and Sinhalese. Among Indian commentators, there is only one Buddhist commentator, Subhuti Chandra, and the name of his commentary is Kavika Madhenu, the wish fulfilling cow for poets. Dr. Mahesh Raj Pant, in his excellent edition of Jatarupa's commentary on the Amarkosh, provided details of 4 incomplete manuscripts of the Kavi Kamadhenu. And I should say that I was so naive that even without thinking whether I could get access to at least one manuscript, I decided to work on this topic and compare the commentary with its canonical Tibetan translations. So Sanskritists have known Subhuti Chandra by the numerous citations of his commentary, which are found in successive lexicographical and grammatical literature. Among modern scholars, it is probable Theodore Zachariah who made a reference to Subhuti and his commentary. He mentions that the commentary was translated into Tibetan and that Subhuti refers to Purnachandra and Ratnamati, the 2 Buddhist commentators on the Chandra grammar. A.C. Vidyabhushan edited the Tibetan translation of Subhuti's commentary as it is preserved in the Narthang recension of the Tibetan Tanjore. This edition was published in 1912. However, till 1912, we did not know that there exists any Sanskrit manuscript of this commentary. So, date of Subhuti Chandra and his Kavi Kamadhenu, it was P.K. Gode, the curator of the Bhandakar Oriental Research Institute. In his 2 articles, Rare Manuscripts of Subhuti Chandra's Commentary on the Amarkosha and Date of Subhuti Chandra's Commentary on the Amarkosha between AD 1060 and 1172, he made an attempt to fix the date of Subhuti's commentary. So roughly it is my conclusion is it is written between 1115 to 1130 because new evidence came to light maybe a few months back, so the revised date is between 1115 and 1130. This Subhuti Chandra was a scholar of the Vikramshil University and also a scholar of Tantra texts. In 1934, T.R. Chintamani wrote an article in which he analyzed the contents of a fragmentary paper manuscript of the Kavi Kamadhenu preserved in the Government Oriental Manuscripts Library, Madras. In 1935 and 1937, Rahulji reported the discovery of 3 incomplete manuscripts of Subhuti Chandra's commentary at the Ngor and the Sakya monasteries in Tibet. And while describing these manuscripts, Rahulji remarked that the DAV College Lahore possessed 1 manuscript of Subhuti Chandra's commentary. Thus, by 1937, as many as 5 manuscripts, all incomplete, were recorded. And it is at this stage that I first came in contact with the Mahapandita Rahul Sankrityayan. I was new to the field of Buddhist studies and hence was not introduced to Rahulji or his achievements or works before. So now I come to the manuscripts in the Rahul collection. So he has described this manuscript in his article Second Search of Sanskrit Palm Leaf Manuscripts in Tibet in 1937. It was preserved in Chakpe Lakhang of the Sakya monastery in the Midwest Tibet. He reported it as manuscript number 185. The photoplates of the Sanskrit palm leaf manuscript are preserved in the Bihar Research Society. Because of some good contacts and a fortunate confusion, we were able to see the entire collection in Patna in 2002. I was told that the authorities don't allow anyone to see the collection, but there was some confusion and we were lucky to see the collection ourselves. So the photoplates we could see, they promised that they will also send me the manuscript, but obviously it was beyond their capacity, so I did not get photocopies of the manuscript. Then I also wanted to check myself to whether Rahulji, he mentions 3 manuscripts where all the 3 are there or only one is there. So I contacted Jagdishwar Pandey who knew the collection well, and he confirmed that Rahulji, we only have photo plates of only one manuscript. So I thought that getting access to this manuscript is next to impossible or something like that, but the late Professor K.N. Mishraji came to my help. He was in contact with Dr. Grunendal of the State and University Library of Göttingen, which possessed a microfilm of a manuscript. Dr. Grunendal sent me a photocopy of this manuscript. In 2011, my guru, the late Professor Mikhail Hahn, a renowned German scholar of Buddhist studies, wrote to me that he can get better digital images of the manuscript. The images reached me shortly before I left for Germany to work under Professor Hahn. It was quite a surprise for me to know that the original manuscript is now housed in this State and University Library of Göttingen. So it was first thought that just like Bihar Research Society, Göttingen also only has microfilms, but no, they have the original manuscript of this manuscript text. So during my research stay in Germany as a Humboldt Research Fellow, Dr. Grunendal made necessary arrangements so that I could see the manuscript myself, and I think I consulted it twice or thrice. So nowhere did Rahulji mention that he brought this manuscript with him to India. So it's still a mystery. On the cover folio there is a mention of Gustav Roth and the date 10th March 1987. I could not get any information from the Göttingen University Library. So whether it was Gustav Roth who got this manuscript from Patna or whatever, that history is unknown. Then there is the DAV College manuscript which Rahulji had mentioned. This manuscript listed as number 3809 in the catalogue of the Vishveshwarananda Vedic Research Institute. It is described as follows. If I remember correctly, again it was the late Professor K.N. Mishraji who informed me that the collection of the DAV College Lahore is now in the Vishveshwarananda Vedic Research Institute. The catalogue mentions the manuscript. Professor Mishra contacted the then director, Professor B.B. Chaube, and Chaubeji wrote to me that the entire collection has shifted to Lalchand Research Library in Chandigarh. Dr. Dhawan, the then director of the DAV College, provided me a photocopy of this manuscript. So it was not really easy to locate this manuscript because it really traveled a lot. And then when internet became accessible and DAV College's information was online, that was the time I could connect these dots. So we know that Rahulji was an Arya Samajist at some point in his life, and the DAV College Lahore was established taking inspiration from Swami Dayananda in 1886, and Rahulji completed his Shastri degree in Sanskrit from this college in 1919. And in the memory of its first President Rai Bahadur Lalchand, the College Management Trust and Society founded the Lalchand Research Library in Lahore in 1917. This library housed many important and rare manuscripts. After the partition of India, with the initiative of Acharya Vishwabandhu, who was the then director of Dayananda Brahma Vidyalaya, the library was brought from Lahore to India part by part in trucks, I think, or in trucks which were taking refugees from Pakistan to India. So first it came to the warehouse provided by Baba Pradyumna Singh in Amritsar, and then it was then shifted to Sadhu Ashram, by which the campus of the Vishveshwarananda Research Institute is known. And then finally in October 1996, the entire library was relocated in the DAV College Chandigarh. So this was quite an adventurous journey for manuscripts from Lahore to Amritsar and to Hoshiarpur and then to Chandigarh. Okay, then I will talk about the last manuscript of this commentary. So it turned out to be a transcript of the manuscript I discovered before, I talked about before. So D.D. Kosambi, son of Acharya Dharmananda Kosambi, in his article, The Working Class in the Amarkosh, he informs us that the Subhuti Chandra fragment was copied for my use from a Malabar palm leaf manuscript at the DAV College Library, Hoshiarpur, Madras government being a recent paper manuscript. But Kosambi did not provide any details regarding the transcript made for him, and I could not trace it in his collection. I had a communication with his daughter, Professor Meera Kosambi, but it was not there. So this manuscript turned out to be a Devanagari transcript of a manuscript which I mentioned before. Then on the last page of this manuscript, there is a mention that it was transcribed in 1919-20 from a manuscript of Narayan Nambudri, Kutallur, Mana, Malabar. The scribe had signed a note with a date 4th May 1919, and below this there is a remark compared with original manuscript written apparently by someone else, and the date is 18th June 1919. I could not find much details of Narayan Nambudri because this name is so common, but only thing what I could get from internet sources is he came from Kudallur Mana from Malabar, which is situated in Nagalaseri Panchayat, Palakkad district in Kerala. Mana is home of Nambudri Brahmins, and Kudallur was a center of culture and learning. That's the only information I could find. So again, the manuscript was in Malabar. From there it went to Lahore. From Lahore to Amritsar to Hoshiarpur, and then ended up in Chandigarh. So that's the travel of the manuscript. Then there are two more manuscripts. So this is that Nagari manuscript. Then two manuscripts which Rahul ji described, which are still in Tibet and hence not very accessible, are these two. There is a recent article by a Tibetan Tashi Bom. He is a student of some Chinese university and he is working on Amarkosh and Kavika Amadhenu in Tibet. But whatever I have mentioned, he doesn't basically go beyond, he doesn't have any new information. And he is not allowed to see the collection himself. So whatever he writes is based on only catalogs of Liu Shao or something like that. Yeah, and then this is one more manuscript which is mentioned by Dan Martin in the catalog KCDS. So Tipscript Philology. In his, this mentions, but it seems that this is also part of another manuscript I mentioned. So it seems that there exists a complete manuscript of the Kavika Amadhenu in Tibet, which is not accessible, but I see a revived interest in this text in China. At least two students are working on the text, so I hope that at some point the manuscripts in Tibet will be available. Now, why Subhuti Chandra and his Kavika Amadhenu are important? If we go through the two earliest commentaries on the Amarkosh, we immediately see a gradual development in the art of writing a commentary on lexicons. So Jatarupa's focus is providing on grammatical derivation, then his successor Kshiraswami is also interested only giving grammatical information and not anything beyond that. So they do not give us evidence or proofs that how this word was used in the literature. Subhuti Chandra, I think being a Buddhist, and he was really interested in having dialogue and communication and discussions. He was the first one to start this discussion about word forms, their grammar, their gender, how, where are they attested. So that is, I think, the importance of Subhuti Chandra. So if we see, Jatarupa has only 100 quotations from literature, then Kshiraswamin has slightly more. But as against this, as Professor Vimalendra Kumar was telling in the when he introduced me, in Subhuti Chandra there are 2000 citations from 250 texts, many of which we do not know. There are a lot of Buddhist texts which we do not know from Tibetan translation or from manuscript collection. So from that perspective as well, Subhuti Chandra is really very important. Then, from Vedas to erotics to Kama Shastra to grammar to dramaturgy, everything he quotes. He quotes from Buddhist authors, Buddhist texts written by Buddhist authors or secular texts written by Buddhist authors. And so that's why the discussion and the dialogue between different traditions which Subhuti Chandra introduced in the commentary literature is unprecedented in the known history of Sanskrit lexicography. On the one hand, successive Indian commentators like Sarvananda walked in the steps of Subhuti Chandra. On the other, his Kavi Kamadhenu became an important source for the subsequent Indo-Tibetan and Pali lexicographical tradition. No other lexicographer became as influential as this Buddhist monk scholar was. So his commentary traveled to Tibet. It became source of Indo-Tibetan lexicographical literature. It traveled to Sri Lanka. It traveled to Burma and to Nepal and maybe in Thailand also. And then Subhuti Chandra was a Mahasthavira, Mahapandita. So he quotes from Buddhist texts or secular texts written by Buddhists, and he is really an exception because he uses Chandra grammatical tradition to derive Sanskrit words, and he is the only one. Even Buddhist writers, commentators like Kamalashila or others, they have never used Chandra grammatical tradition, the Buddhist grammarian. So it is only Subhuti Chandra who uses Chandra tradition. From that perspective, also Subhuti Chandra is important. Then I come to the next, sorry, there is a typo in Ajata Shatru, but yeah. So again, this is derived from my work on Kavi Kamadhenu. So at some point, while commenting on Avicii Hell, Subhuti Chandra quotes this verse and says it occurs in the text called Sahakaropadesha. Now we do not know this Sahakaropadesha text, we don't have Tibetan translation, we don't have manuscript, so we don't know what this Sahakaropadesha is. When I was going through my local files, I found that text, I found that verse in the text called Ajata Shatru Avadana, which my teacher had edited, and it was, he edited this on the basis of Rahul Sankrityayan's transcript of the manuscript, because there is reverse sides of the 5 leaves, as I have said there, are available in manuscript form, and other side Rahulji has copied in his hand. So on the basis of that, Han edited this text, and since it is an incomplete manuscript, Han gave the title Ajata Shatru because Ajata Shatru is the central figure of this legend. So that's why this name was suggested. And so I was puzzled that why we have 2 texts, Sahakaropadesha and Ajata Shatru Avadana, who borrowed from whom, or is there any common source or what? Again, when I started my search, I found an entry in the great Sanskrit German dictionary PW. It mentions, anyway, so I'll come to this afterwards. So this great PW dictionary, it mentions under the entry Sahakaropadesha that a manuscript of this text authored by Gopadatta is preserved in Paris in National Bibliothèque. And the colophon does mention that it is written by Gopadatta. Now there are at least 3 Jataka Malas, one by Aryashura, which is very famous, then second by Haribhatta. Both are translated into Tibetan. Gopadatta Jataka Mala unfortunately is not translated into Tibetan. Secondly, we don't have a single manuscript of Gopadatta, his Jataka Mala. So only Saptakumarika Avadana is transmitted as a whole, and it is also available in Tibetan translation. So that was Han edited it long back. So it was Han's hypothesis that several legends were written by Gopadatta, and he gave like all these arguments of vicinity, argument of homogeneous use of meters, similar phrases, identical phrases, and agreement of composition. So the next question was whether Sahakaropadesha is Ajatashatru Avadana or not. But contacting Bibliothèque Nationale was impossible, they didn't respond. Finally, in 2019, 700 of their manuscripts came in public domain, and that's how I got access to this manuscript. So it is mentioned that the author is Gopadatta, and the name is indeed Sahakaropadesha. I don't know why it is Sahakaropadesha, because the main theme is efficacy of good deeds, bad deeds, and the result of these deeds. So I don't know how this Sahakaropadesha title came into existence. But anyway, Han's hypothesis that the text was written by Gopadatta is confirmed from this manuscript, and when I compared both the texts, it became clear that in fact Sahakaropadesha is the Ajatashatru Avadana, and we need, because Paris manuscript is complete, so we can have a revised critical edition of this text with its English translation. And now I come to the last part on which I am not working, but my husband and my colleagues are working. It is a commentary on the Chandra grammatical tradition. So just like Panini, we have Sutra, Vritti and Nyasa or Panjika. Same structure is followed in Chandra and Katantra. So Chandra Sutras, Chandra Vritti, and then Chandra Vyakarana Panjika. Only thing is for Panjika on Chandra Vyakaran there are three. One by Ratnamati from Sri Lanka, then by Purnachandra, and then one by Sumati from Nepal. So Rahulji discovered an incomplete manuscript in Tibet in Shalu monastery, and he filmed it in 1936 in August. And it also includes part of Purnachandra's Shabda Lakshan Vivaran Panjika. And right now my husband, then his German colleague Professor Dragomir Dimitrov, and a Japanese colleague Dr. Chojun Yazaki are working on this text, and on 27th of this month the first part of the text will be published in the Deccan College, because the manuscript is incomplete, so there is no point in publishing the entire text. So parts of this text would be published. So in conclusion, Rahul Sankrityana's dedication to rediscovery, preservation, the last connection I forgot, which is very important for me, not from academic purpose, but yeah, again nostalgia. So it takes us to Marburg, Germany. In 1932, Rahulji met Professor Rudolf Otto of the Marburg University in Marburg, whom he had met in Vidyalankar Perivena in 1927. Professor Otto was a German theologian, philosopher and comparative religionist. My husband Professor Deokar and I are fortunate to have been associated with the Philipps University of Marburg since 2012. So I was really happy to have connected, have my connections with this institute and Marburg. So yeah, Rahulji's dedication to the rediscovery, preservation and documentation of ancient manuscripts played a crucial role in reviving lost knowledge. His expeditions to Tibet and his meticulous scholarly efforts ensured that invaluable Buddhist texts were saved from oblivion. Through his work, he not only preserved a rich intellectual tradition but also provided future generations with the means to study and appreciate India's profound contributions to philosophy and spirituality. Thank you.